Stefanos Tsitsipas and Casper Ruud have been red hot on clay, but will someone else win in Madrid? What's up, everybody? It's John Eric Poli here to do a preview and prediction of this year's 2024 Madrid Open. Going to be an exciting tournament on the med side of things. So let's get started by talking about the top players to watch in this year's tournament. Going to get started with Jannik Sinner. He is the #1 seed in this year's tournament. Obviously having a great year here in 2024. Probably the best player on tour here in 2024. Then you have Casper Ruud. He finally got a ATP 500 event win. Last week, he was 0-7 in events that weren't a ATP 250 or lower, so great to see for Ruud there. Then you have Stefanos Tsitsipas, just won in Monte Carlo, runner-up in Barcelona where he lost to Casper Ruud. Those two have been going back and forth the last few weeks, but Tsitsipas definitely red hot coming in. There's also Alexander Zverev, great clay player, and he also has a great draw in this year's tournament. Look out for him to make some noise here. And then Carlos Alcaraz, glad to see him in this tournament. I know there's been a few injuries and whatnot as of late, but glad to see he's healthy and in this tournament for this year's Madrid Open. So let's get into some things here, how we're going to preview and predict it here. For me, I'm looking at Carlos Alcaraz and Zverev to meet in this year's semifinal. I think both of these guys have very good draws. Obviously, both very good clay players. And they've had some pretty good battles here in 2024. But the big thing here, Zverev is inconsistent, where Carlos Alcaraz seems to be the more consistent player who's been going on these dominant runs here. So for me, I'm going to go with Carlos Alcaraz to come out of that half of the bracket. Sure, Zverev's out there, could possibly pull off an upset there, but still going to lean towards Carlos Alcaraz. Now to the other side, who would Alcaraz play in the final? This is where things get really interesting. As a quarterfinal matchup, you're looking at Casper Ruud and Jannik Sinner, two very good players there. Interesting matchup there on the clay courts. Then you'd have a possible semifinal for the winner of that one against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now, obviously, three very good players there, but for me, I think Sinner is due here. He's the #1 player in the world this year. He's the top seed. Let's also not forget that him and Stefanos Tsitsipas, there was some controversy in their semifinal matchup at Monte Carlo. So for me, I'm just going to lean towards Jannik Sinner here, but I think you're looking at one of those three players coming out of that half of the bracket, but it won't matter in the end because if Carlos Alcaraz is healthy enough and if he's playing on clay, I'm going to go with Carlos Alcaraz. I really like him on clay, and I see him holding up the trophy at the end of this year's 2024 Madrid Open.